Hello everyone. Today I'm going to analyze the third game of World Women's Championship, the game between Ju Wenjun and Tan Zhongyi. It was a very tough game and challenging game. At the end, Ju Wenjun managed to beat Tan Zhongyi in a very tough game. Let's see what happened in the game. After e4, c5, knight f3, e6, c4. Of course, in this Sicilian variation, white can play d4 instead of c4 and enter into a open Sicilians, but c4 moves, of course, it's a little annoying move for black in this kind of situation. I don't mean that it's the main move, but okay, black has to know how to handle the situation in this case. Black played knight c6. Usually it's a good move to play knight c6, and after maybe to play knight f6 and then playing for d5, simply equalizing move. But we have to know something in these positions. Both of the players, they are knowing the full theories. Of course, that it's not important only the opening phase of the game. They have to know how to continue after the opening. Maybe they want to prepare something solid and something it's a little difficult to play for the opponent, I mean. So after knight c6, white played d4, cd4, knight d4, bishop b4 check. We call this system the pawn on e4 and c4 Marx-Bind system. It's a very good kind of structure when you are facing the Sicilian defense, and it's a little limiting black's pieces, so black has to react in a careful way just to not being in a trouble out of the opening. After knight c3, knight g e7, a little unusual move. Usually black is playing knight f6 here. For Tan Zhongyi, maybe she knows this position before and she prepared this position, knight g e7 move. Of course, both of the moves are preparing for d5 idea. So if black wants to equalize in this position, has to play d5 immediately. Otherwise, if white survives here, making like a bishop e3, bishop e2 and castling, after these moves, normal moves, white will get the good position, and after that playing d5 will be a little problematic for black. So let's see, after knight g e7, white played bishop b2. If we want to consider another move for white, we can call it knight db5. It's an interesting move. Maybe we can call it a little challenging move for black. Actually, in this position, d6 square is vacant, so black has to watch out for this square also. For example, if castling, one of our ideas, white idea is to play knight d6, and another is to make a trouble for this bishop. So after playing a3, black has to face a very big question, going to lose the bishop or not. So I think that the better move, best move for black is to take on c3. So after knight c3, we're reaching this position. I think that this position is a little good for white, because actually white has a strong two bishops, so it can play for more in this position. And one more important thing we have to know in the Sicilian defense, that anytime black is losing his dark squared bishop, a little bit dubious positions are coming for black, so we have to watch out for this kind of positions also. So let's come back for the move knight g e7. After bishop e2, black played d5 move immediately. I told you about this move. If black wants to equalize in this position, she has to do this. She has to play this move immediately. After e takes d5, e takes d5, knight takes c6. Actually, these moves are completely usual ways of playing in this system. B takes c6, the almost forcing move here, because knight c6 is losing the d5 pawn. After castling and castling, c takes d5, c takes d5. I usually play the Sicilian Khan defense against the e4 variation also. I used to face these systems with black pieces also. I know that this kind of pawn structure is little difficult to handle with black. Actually, this pawn is a passed pawn, but not the good passed pawn, because white can prepare a good pressure against the d5 pawn. So we have to know how to play with this system, and maybe we can say that why this knight is good positioned here anyway. If white wants to play bishop g5, so we can counter this move with f6 also. So let's see. After bishop f3, I was thinking in this position maybe we can play bishop e3 in this position also. What is the idea of bishop e3? I want to control this d4 square, not letting the black to place d4. So after bishop f3 and some moves like knight b5 also, it's also very interesting resource for white. So you can come to d4 square, a very important blockading square for white. I was thinking about bishop e3, so this setup is quite famous in this kind of positions. Let's come back and see after bishop f3, bishop e6. White decided to place bishop g5 here, very simple and solid move. Black decided to take on c3, and after this position Tanjongi played rook c8 here. I think that actually black made a good success out of the opening, because already she just finished the development, and black has a good pawn structure also. I think that white, because of the two bishops, a little confidence maybe came to white, but actually white has to watch out. White played queen a4 here. I think the challenging moment for the game is here. Black has to think about how he wants to play here. White is not watching for this c3 pawn. Of course, this is not important. We have to not bother ourselves with defending these pawns. Attacking onto a7 pawn, and already maybe some attacks like queen a3 or some kind of preparing moves like rook d1 or rook e1 is also threatening here. So black find another excellent move, h6 here. After bishop d2, there is no other ways for coming back with the bishop. If you want to come back to e3, then there will be knight f5, so she has to come back to d2 here. After a5, in this position I was thinking the same Ju Wenjun has done in the position like queen a4, just leaving the c3 pawn. I was thinking just to leave this a7 pawn alone and playing knight f5 for piece activity. But okay, during a game and the pressure coming out of the game, little hard to play such a moves, because after queen a7 you feel that you have a compensation, but finding the exact move orders, how to play the position until the end, it's a little risky, even in a world championship match. Okay, maybe if you're analyzing this position with computer shows that you can play in this position, but it's I think that it's a little difficult, and playing with white is so easy. But according to computer, after d4, I think that black is equalizing easily, but I told you it's not like that. So let's come back. After this move, black decided to place a5. The same thing in this kind of positions, we are reaching a good equal positions after the opening, but handling the position after the opening, it's very important. White get a good position, two bishop advantage, solid position. That's the same thing in a world championship matches counting, because if you have a good setup and like a two bishop advantage, because these kind of advantages are completely stable advantage, and you can play with these kind of advantage like 50 moves, 40 moves, so you can press your opponent so hard during a game. Even in a world championship match, it's difficult for the players to handle such a situation. So after rook f2 e1, rook c4, played by black. Black is trying to play is active. Queen a3. I told you the idea of queen a4 is already to playing queen a3, making a full control of the board, having an eye to this weak pawn, this knight, and okay, controlling this big c3 pawn also. Knight f5 played by black. Okay, this is a good move. Somehow black is preparing some attack here. Knight h4, queen f6, and preparing the other rook comes to the game. After bishop e2, it's a very good move by white, just limiting this rook to comes back. Rook c8 has to be played, and after rook a d1. Okay, let's analyze this position. I think that white achieved a lot. Whole pieces are in the game. Black needs to bring the queen and rook into the game. According to computers, maybe this position is equal, but really it's difficult to play with black here. So after queen d6, black maybe sees that she can exchange the queens and go to a endings, maybe can place for equality there. After taking on a5, rook a8, queen b4, this ending, this is the calculation made by both of the players. Rook takes a2 and bishop f4, queen c6. Black decided not to exchanging the queens, but actually we know that if he tries to exchange the queens after c takes 3-4, obviously this position is very bad for black, because if we can see this pass pawn with the promoting the square of b8, because this bishop is controlling all over the board, simple moves can be good for white, like bishop d3, rook b1, b5, just simply pushing the pawn can be over for black. So black decided to keep the queens on the board. Queen c6, a logical play. According to computers, queen d7 is a good move, but I think that queen c6 is much more logical, because removing the queen out of this d5. White played bishop b5 in this position. After queen b6, rook e2, exchanging the rooks. I was thinking just exchanging the rooks here and simply going through the endings. If you can see in these positions, even white or black, they are playing completely solid and with full concentration about their pieces. They are playing completely solid chess. But okay, even here white has a stable advantage. White is not fearing about anything, so he can play for more quite easier than black in this position. After rook f8, bishop d3, rook a1, just simplifying the position. I think in this kind of positions we have to know the endings, which kind of endings we want to choose, which kind of endings we want to enter, and from black's point of view, obviously we have to know which endings are giving us the highest priority of drawing chances. Of course that I'm thinking about the rook endings, because there is a much more possibility of drawing chances, but of course that there's the two minor pieces here, and exchanging them is quite difficult in this position. One another ending is opposite colored bishops, but again this has to be a little bit difficult, I think, for black to reach the opposite colored bishop, because pure opposite colored bishops can be drawn here, but with the rooks maybe it's a little bit difficult for black. Let's see what happened in the game. White decided to place rook e1. After rook d1, queen d8, h3, making a space for the king, queen f6, rook e1, wanting a full control of e5 squares. So after rook c8, bishop b5, queen g5. As we can see, this is a completely simple position, just simply making improving moves. White is not doing much more in the position, just simply wants to have a strong position. After bishop a6, and not letting black to place his pieces in a good positions. Rook a8, bishop f4, queen f6, bishop b7. I'm not analyzing so many things here because already there are too many options and all of them is near to okay, equality here. Already the position is near to equal here. So after rook d8, bishop c7, the same idea continues here. Rook f8, rook d1, and after queen g5. Maybe here it was the important position of the game. So here d5 pawn is a little headache for black. Maybe black should have defended this pawn with rook d7. But okay, after bishop e5 and bishop c6, so if black decides to place rook d7 after bishop e5, so for example queen g6, now bishop c6 move, that's the same thing maybe white wanted to play here after rook d8. A little annoying position, but computer says that it's near to equal drawing position here, but because black has also some chances here on h3 and g2 pawn, the bishop is watching to h3 pawn also. But in this position, black decided to place rook f8. So after rook d1, now black has to do something for d5 pawn. Maybe she's losing the d5 pawn, but still some compensation for black. After queen g5, bishop d5, black find a good resource here. Very interesting move. Knight to e3. I told you this is the same thing. We have to consider it okay, when we want to simplify the position as a defender side. The very important move here black is playing here is after knight e3. The main important thing, she wants to enter opposite colored bishops. And we have to know that if white wants to accept this after f takes c3, bishop d5, the opposite colored bishops are happening here. We have to know that in opposite colored bishops, the attacker side, I mean here you are seeing that this bishop is completely better than this bishop, I mean for attacking purposes. So if in opposite colored bishops we have attacking chances, I mean on the king, so we will have good chances of surviving or even winning the game. In this kind of middle games, having a pawn advantage, okay, winning a pawn or losing a pawn is not important. The only important thing is safety of the king. Because if I want to attack on the g2 pawn, so this bishop is not doing anything about protecting here. And we have to know that who is attacking first is getting a much more chances of getting an initiative. So after f takes c3, bishop d5, it was bishop takes d5, it was a good position for black. But again, white here find a good intermediate move here, h4. Instead of taking on e3, she decided to place h4. Queen g4, almost forced move. If we want to analyze, maybe here knight d5 is also comes to the mind. After h takes g5, knight b4, cb4. This is another opposite colored bishop endings are happening here. After rook c8, bishop d8, maybe just protecting this g5 pawn. So after rook b8, rook d4, we are reaching to this position. I think that these positions, maybe if I was playing black in this position, I wanted to enter in this ending. After h takes g5, bishop takes g5, rook b7. Okay, but during a game, defending this kind of positions, of course that there is a lot of chances for white, I mean from practical point of view, because according to the engines or theoretical positions, it's a completely draw position. But during a game, we can press our opponent and make him to make some mistakes, and eventually this kind of positions in a practical game, it's a little difficult to handle. So I think that knight takes d5 was a good resource for Tanjongi to place here. So she decided to place queen g4, entering another kind of opposite colored endings here. Queen takes g4, bishop takes g4, rook d3. Now after taking and reaching to this position, maybe Tanjongi thought that in this position the c pawn is better than b pawn, just to handle it, because much more closer to the king, so we can draw this position easier than the b pawn. But actually the main difference here is one pawn here is there is extra pawn here. I mean the edge pawns are extra here, so we have to know that when we are going to defend in this kind of positions, if we reduce the pawns or if we exchange the pawns, there is a much more chance of drawing the game. I'm not counting this also because actually this position is also easy to defend. Let's see what happened in the game. After rook a8, bishop b6, bishop b6, we have to play actively. So after king f8, king e7, g6, and after h5, this is the according to the rules. In opposite colored bishops, we have to put our pawns, I mean in a defender side, we have to defending side, we have to put our pawns on the same color of our bishop, so we can come with our king and rook to play against this pawn. But okay, white is completely easily coming with his her king after king g3, rook a5, king f4, king d7, g3, rook f5 check, king e3, rook a5, rook b4. White is trying to make a little difficulties for black. Bishop d5, bishop b6, rook a3, king d4, bishop b6. Of course, nothing to worry about. Black is doing well here. Bishop c5, rook a2, king d3, bishop f5, king e3. Some kind of waiting moves playing with white, just showing that she wants to wait, waiting for the mistakes, obviously. Bishop e6, bishop d4, king c6, c4. Little making a progress here. Now white is ready to play c5 and then rook b6 check, going a little farther, but actually this is also draw. After king c7, c5, bishop d5, king f4. Maybe the important moment of the game is coming. Here in this position, of course, because of the time pressure and the difficult position facing with, Tanjongi made a big mistake here. We cannot count it as a big mistake, but we have to know what white wants to do here. Of course, white wants to play king g5, king f6, and going for this pawn, weak pawns here. So black should have find the important move rook e2 here. What is the idea of this move is, if white wants to play king g5, we can play rook e4, just making a annoying pin here, and after some moves like king f6 want to do to attack on the f7, nothing is happening here. We can calmly wait here until to see what white wants to do here. And if we know that if we are going to exchange the rooks for 100%, the game will end in a draw. So rook e2, rook e4 idea is a very interesting idea to find. Black should have find here, but another idea was to play rook a6 after rook king g5. Again, maybe just waiting with king, not doing anything. But okay, if we want to analyze this position, it's a little difficult to find this move. We have to put our rook here, protecting b6 square. Now if white comes with king f6, we can play bishop a2, only waiting here. I'm not thinking that it's obviously 100% draw. There is so many moves to go on and we have to watch out for everything. Even I want to tell you some tricks in this kind of positions. We can sometimes bring our rook and sacrifice our rook on f7. These kind of options are also giving us a good winning chances, because obviously in this position only white is playing for a win, and because there is no other way to capture this f7 pawn and already well defended by the bishop. So this kind of exchange sacrifices are also happening in these positions. But okay, according to computer, it's also near to draw, but rook e2 was a safe way to play it. But Tan Zhongyi made a bad mistake here, bishop c6 move. So after bishop c6, king g5, and already Zhu Wenjun is finding this very fast. Rook a4. Now instead of exchanging the rook, because already if we exchange it, it will be draw. Bishop b5 check, king d7. Now rook b2. Obviously we are not going to exchange the rook. King e6, bishop f4. What happened in this position? Now white wants to play like these ideas or rook b6 idea, and after king defending the bishop, we can come with our king on f6, and the bishop is not defending the f7 pawn. So after rook c4, bishop e3 defending the pawn. Now we can see that rook can comes from b6 and even can comes from d6 also. So white played rook b8 with the idea rook d8 and rook d6. Bishop e6, rook d6. Rook c2. I think that that's the only for black. Black has to wait to see how white is going to break the black's defense here. Okay, for white is also the most important thing is not to hurry, not to rush, and easily improving the position. King h6. After king f6, rook d1. Rook c4, rook d6. Very important idea. When you have a winning position, you can repeat 1 time, 3 times, then after play your own idea. Rook c2, bishop d4 check, and then f3. Limiting the king. If bishop wants to move, then rook f6 checkmate is there. Now we can push the c pawn. Rook c4, c6. So black cannot attack on the f3 pawn, already in a big kind of zugzwang position. Rook c2, king g7. There is no other moves for black here, so black decided to play g5, at g5, king g5, bishop b6, and after c7, this position is lost. Rook c3, bishop a5, attacking the rook. Rook c5, rook a6. And after rook c4, king f8, king e7. Okay, maybe some mistakes here, but not so important. So after h4, rook f6 check, g takes h4 is happened here, so we have another extra pawn here. So simply pushing this h pawn is also enough to win the game. So black cannot do anything in this position. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like our videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you so much.